Sup everyone, we are back with more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and we are about to head into the trial, so let's do that, shall we? What do we got on? Oh my god, we got lots of new faces on the jury.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public a trial of Professor Albert Harebrayne. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready.
The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more. I like how she's in her secondary outfit even there. I'm without Susados on today. This is going to be interesting, actually, because when it's literally just going to be Ryunosuke's inner thoughts with no, like, sidekick to tell us when we're being a dumbass. Ugh. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual?
So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zykes. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty.
Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. And then he got his just desserts by being prosecuted from the Reaper. By the Reaper. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom.
But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? Ellipses. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrayne. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty?
Oh my god, this is a new face. Wow. It actually feels like almost like random members of the jury have been chosen. Well, of the 6 million people in London, because I've never seen this dude before. I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important and civic duty, my lord. I feel like that's a proper voice for him. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Oh my god, there's a magician here?
Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholars that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang.
Oh my god. We have to listen to what's said on both sides, the fence, and, then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? And then the 6th one is the person we saw yesterday. They don't have the scarf this time. Oh my god, he brought a fucking gun into court. Why do you have a gun? Why do you have a gun in court?
Wasn't like this in my day, wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer Ottoman look-alike. Again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Good lord, literally not a single juror we've seen before. I like that, actually. They're bringing in new ones.
Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed.
Wow. No, it's funny to think about the fact that, I don't know, we've seen all of these jurors, and yet we know, like, not a single one of their names. I mean, we know, like, the only ones we knew were the Gyarados.
Nevertheless, the dream of the sides being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. I have a cat by my legs, and I have no idea why. A tragic turn of events, and as such the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zykes. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of scientists' latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord!
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity, and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility?
Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking.
Huh. The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up for scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What?
What rot?
Man, I thought we were done with me having to voice 6 new people at once, but here we are.
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Hasman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant.
But...
That this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Thank you, Lord Van Zykes. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord.
Okay, what witnesses do we have? Oh, right, I have to voice more than 6 new people.
Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand.
Unless it's Gregson and Gina, which it might be. Never mind, it's Harebrayne and Gregson.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation.
You. Albert Harebrayne, scientist. You were born in England but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, alright, an incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everybody saw it, they must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Is it the body? Oh, there he is. Ooh, pierced through the heart.
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it.
I see. Very well, submit the photograph as evidence.
Alright. As the courts heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odiasman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiments and the demonstration itself.
I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly. But couldn't it be the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, that must be it. My splendid machine. My poor splendid machine. You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the special dispensation for... What? The wreckage! The wreckage!
But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How could it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act?
Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry, me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir, it was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How can you possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim that this experiment had been a front for murder.
Let's get it on. Witness testimony. Front for murder. The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury. A fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow's the only one who could have done it. Okay. Interesting.
An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart.
Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than a judge. The coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No, no, and no. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have here the examination plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away.
The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window. My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident, a terrible accident.
Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record.
Your request is granted, counsel.
Alright. I'll have to check that in a bit. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole... I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage of Mr. Asmund was a disgraceful excuse for a scientist. Yeah, I think this voice will work well for that dude, actually.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really.
Very well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. Smack. It's been a while. Let's go. Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins. A front for murder. Corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck.
Hold it!
Bum ba dum bum ba da bum. Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height? Exactly, which highlights something else about this whole rum business. What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
Ah! After the explosion, the cage with the fellow inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair.
So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur.
Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? Oh, that's it.
I made a minor miscalculation.
Okay, yeah. So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally?
Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Only you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated even I can make a mistake.
Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it.
I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, and ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened.
Obviously, then you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asmund is wearing at the time, I suppose.
Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3!
So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third. Now we're onwards to the third statement. The ease pressings of the statements are quite short. Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it? He's not a cat. 2, right? Obviously, at first we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well. But you're saying that's not the case? You'll get your answer once I finish my fish and chips if you don't keep butting in every few seconds. We all know that's a bottomless bag. Wow. Ryunosuke is freaking just addressing the 4th wall breaks. Or he's breaking the 4th wall by addressing it.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that that is the cause of death.
You know, am I stupid, or is it just pretty reasonable to say that maybe the explosion caused the cage to fly 30 feet into the air? I mean, if the place explosions being used for propulsion isn't something that's unheard of. I mean, have you seen My Hero Academia and looked at Bakugo? That's kind of what he does. Then again, that's anime. I don't know if that would work in real life. I mean, you'd probably just explode the shit out of yourself, but whatever. Right. That's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it? A red herring. The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The
prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcasm and insincere thanks. So what was the nature of the sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This. Ah yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it, Chris?
Ha 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 ha! There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew! Andrew the screwdriver. Andrew, of course. Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. What are you, Bob the Builder? Andrew is my flat-headed screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
That isn't...
It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt.
I like how we have the silly-ass music, the scientist music playing with all this.
No!
And that's not all. Meanwhile, our frickin' mad scientist over there, frickin' Okabe. Frickin'... He's just standing there, I guess. I don't know what I was gonna say. Elsai Kongru, that's what I meant to say, not Okabe. Sorry. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? And then all the jurors freaking lined up to put down the guilty.
Order, order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence.
The screwdriver has been entered into the court record. Alright. So one of the Professor Harebrayne's tools is the murder weapon. Great. Okay. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow was the only one who could have done it.
Hold it!
What grounds do you have for saying that?
Huh. Do you really need to ask?
There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd.
The victim, Mr. Odie Osman, and the accused, Professor Harebrayne. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right, I saw him with my own eyes.
Furthermore, following the explosion in Kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could possibly have done it. Also, I like how he said, "Great Scott." Very nice.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Professor Harebrayne, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor! Oh, sorry. I was just calculating the optimal coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. I'm not a science nerd. I don't know how to say all these things. And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right. Of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. I had heard. Then surely you see. If I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no, I suppose not.
You see, not one.
True, I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. What a Chad. And then... Oh, I was waiting for the objection.
Order, order!
Oh, he's pouring the first glass.
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I save a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert.
You're too kind, Barrack. But I'm really not a patch on you.
Bitch. No, you're not.
No?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Ah, of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir. Where are they going with this?
Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
Alright. The weapon where the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Why would you think that, Inspector? With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. Whilst it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word. I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator.
Where's Sato-san when you need her? You asked me, this bloke masked what he was doing from you with his body before stabbing Asmund in the chest. Yeah, but wouldn't Asmund have been facing the people? Like, you don't think his back would have been turned towards the audience? Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted it. I would never do such a thing. Not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for their intended purposes. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated.
Huh. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Von Zykes keep that to himself until now on purpose to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Alright, let us do stuff. One sec. We haven't examined any of the new stuff we've gotten. Okay, so first off, he wore some weird-looking glasses that also look like it could double as a monocle. Anything else that's weird in here? Besides the blood wound, I don't really see anything that stands out as bad. What is this behind him, actually? That's the only thing that I can think of. Is that like a headrest or something? Then there's big-ass shards of glass. I think that's it for this. Though there's probably going to be something that's real minuscule that I'm not paying attention to right now. Oh, wait. Actually, he is strapped down to this, so he couldn't move. Makes sense that he was strapped down. Odie Osmond, 47, British. Courtney Scythe. Oh, the coroner is Courtney Scythe. Why is it showing the coroner's name here? I mean, I get the joke with Courtney. Court being core. As in, like, coroner, but... Has the freaking coroner been written on all of these, and I've just never noticed? Or is that a new thing? Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart inflicted by a sharp implement. Wait, what was that last part? That's probably very important. A broken vertebrae, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. Oh. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. Okay. Glad I added that. Oh, well, I know what to present now. This is blood. Mr. Asmund's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at a murder weapon. Yeah, you can the examinations are not nearly as wordy because Ryunosuke only has himself to bounce a conversation off of. Okay, I think I know what it is now. This.
Objection.
Get bodied. You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Unequivocal. Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but about this screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Now you come to mention it, yes. Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you can contravened the special dispensation for scientific expression. No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yes, that's true. The screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asmund. And been found still lodged in the victim's chest. Huh. Order! How do you explain this, Inspector? I don't... It looked as though everything that the victim had on his person moves with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred. Obviously, that should have been beamed to the destination as well. It's a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Damn, he's good. Lord Van Zykes is stumped. Who the hell? Was that frickin' Harebrayne? Is that what he sounds like?
Do you have something to say, witness?
He's gonna dig his own grave, isn't he?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruto, don't worry.
About what?
Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency.
What? Oh, you dumbass.
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asmund's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations.
What?
Ow. Bitch. Fuck off. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation?
Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientist. Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
I don't know. After all this time, I still haven't nailed down the mad scientist.
Ah, yes. El Psi Congru.
I don't know. I have to go look up some frickin' Steins Gate.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
You fool. You just dug your own grave. I'm trying to fucking help you.
Yeah, me too.
This utter buffoon that I call a friend. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrayne could still have been the killer.
My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrayne?
Yes.
Whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all.
Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. What do you mean us? You're the only one here, Ryunosuke.
Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend.
Can't believe I have to go against my own client.
Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo.
Really? We're doing this? This is a very weird spot to end it, but I feel like that this cross-examination is going to take more than 12 minutes. So, next time on Great Ace Attorney 2, we're going to try to pick apart our own defendant's testimony. Adios, ciao, and bye-bye. Signing off until next time. Ja, matane.